So we're back. We're talking about $1 million careers. As always, I've got my buddy Rob Houghton with me. Rob is the president of MR Fairfax up in Washington, D.C. He is the leading executive recruiter in the Washington, D.C. metro area, and he focuses on insurance. He's got a couple of other really cool things that he does too. He teaches leadership. He does a lot of executive coaching, and he's just been a good friend for 20 years. So Rob, welcome back.
How are you, Craig? It's good to be back, man.
It's always great to have these conversations.
Absolutely.
So a lot of people are talking to me about leadership and expectations. And I think back, and you've got a military background, and I do too. One of the things I loved about the aircraft carrier that I was on was when you went up on the flight deck, everybody had a shirt, and it was color coded. Red shirts were crash and salvage. White shirts were safety. Green shirts were maintenance. Brown shirts were plane captains. Everybody had a job, and you knew what that job, you knew what their job was. And on the flip side, everybody had the shirt on, knew what their job was, right? And it was like, hey, you do your job, not the other guy's job. The only time the only time everybody worked together, it was always it's a well-coordinated team. But it was, it was like, hey, look, do your job. Don't worry about the other guy. He's got his responsibilities. Just do your job. And I'm seeing all this stuff now, and I'm feeling it, and I'm hearing it, and maybe it's just got my frustration up. Everybody wants to do everybody else's job, and they don't focus on their own job. And it's, can you imagine the left tackle? The left tackle, his only job is to protect the quarterback's blind side. He just says, I don't want to do that today. I want to go be a running back.
Yeah. I think every private sector company needs a CV boss, that guy who sits up top directing all the traffic out on the flight deck,
Yeah. So I was just having a conversation. I was like, hey, look, leader was kind of frustrated. I said, are you setting some expectations for your team? Are you, look, you break down the organization. CEO's job is to set the vision for the company, the strategic vision for the company. The CFO's job is to be the strategic finance partner to the CEO. And from a numbers standpoint, this is what we need to do to get your vision. And then from a leadership standpoint, the CFO says, okay, I've got accounting set up. I've got APAR. I've got a good controller. We're going to report to the CEO the numbers every day, every week, and show the CEO where the company is to his vision.
Here's how I look at it.
All right.
You got minders, grinders, and finders, okay? The finder is the CEO. The minder is the CFO. Now, okay. Who's the third leg in the stool? Who is the grinder? That's the COO, right?
Right.
Yeah, so it's as simple as that. Minders, grinders, and finders, man.
Yeah.
And each of them stay the hell out of each other's way, and the CEO sits at the top of the organization. He's the face.
Right. I mean, look, you got the CEO as the minder. This is the strategic direction we're going down. You have the CFO who's going, okay, if you want to go down that direction, this is the financial resources you need. And then you've got the COO in the engine room who's making it all.
He's the grinder, man.
He's the grinder.
He's the guy throwing the logs in the engine.
But I find it funny that a lot of people they don't understand it's like, no, you're not a partner. Your job is to do this, and focus on what it is you're hired to do. And don't worry about everything else in the world, but do what you were hired to do. And if that was to make the machines hum, make the machines hum. Stay out of the CFO's way.
I did an executive coaching assignment about 2 months ago, actually in the United Arab Emirates. And I went into a company And the guy said, our sales are flat. We can't get out of this rut. We're spending we've got all this money allocated to all these initiatives. And I said, what kind of initiatives? And he listed the initiatives on a whiteboard. There was like 15 of them. Social media, operations, HR, sales, financial reporting, outreach, all kinds of stuff, deep learning, I said, why don't you just focus on one for like 90 days? I said, why don't you focus on sales? He goes, really? I said, yeah, forget about these other initiatives. Put them on a back burner and just focus on your sales program. So the guy poured all of his resources into sales. A new sales reporting system, hired more salespeople, trained more salespeople, really focused on salespeople, sent them out to conferences. In like 90 days, he could already see the difference. It's now, several months later, and I just did a phone call with him and he said, Rob, that was great advice. Focus, focus, focus. We focused on sales. We laser focused everything we had on sales. And now we can start prioritizing these other initiatives. But it was all about everyone was trying to multitask and do too many things at the same time.
The funny, that's probably where it's all, where it's all at. And you talk about like all the initiatives, social media, new ERP system, new whatever. And I look at it, nobody, the best question in business, the most powerful question in business is why? And, it comes into, we need a new ERP system. Why? Well, this one doesn't work very well. Okay. So if we put in a new ERP system, what is the ROI that we get off of the new thing? It's like product management. What's the business case? If we rip everything out and start all over, do we double our business?
Yeah.
I mean, if I give this to you, I love this, goes back to a conversation. I love whiny sales guys. I was once a whiny sales guy. The whiny sales guys are like, oh, we have to do all these reports. We can't sell because we have to do all these reports. We can't sell because of this, or we can't sell because of that. The COO of the company looked at them all and said, okay, if I take all that off your plate, are you good? Are you going to go sell? Are you going to meet quota? And it was like crickets.
A lot of people shuffling their feet, hands in their pockets.
Yeah. And the question is why? What? If I do this for you, what do I get back?
Yeah. That's true, man. Multitasking is way overrated.
I think so too.
Yeah. Focus, focus, focus.
What are you trying to get out of what are you trying to get out of you want a great social media program. What's it going to get for you? What is what's it going to get?
Yeah.
Talked to a PR company once. It was ridiculous. They wanted, our minimum is 3 months and they wanted like $5,000 a month. I go, okay. I say yes to this. What do you give? What do I get back?
Yeah.
Well, it's PR. You really don't know. You can't measure it. Oh, so I'm supposed to give you $15,000. How do I hold you accountable?
Right. Yeah.
Well, you really can't. It's PR. Like, no, I don't think that works for me.
If you can't measure it, then it's not worth it.
No, but yeah, the PR company should have come back and said, the PR company, this isn't just the PR company. This is the challenge of everybody. They don't come to their boss with a plan. It's like throwing confetti in the air. It's like a bunch of noise. It's like chaff in the air. It's a bunch of noise. They don't come and say, hey, if you spend $3,000 on me to go to this conference, I can set up meetings with Joe, Fred, Mary, Sally, and Alex. And I think I could come back with 3 or 4 sales or some good things. So the $3,000 to send me to this conference is worth the ROI of that.
Yeah, exactly.
They just go and they say, I want to go to this conference. To which the boss should come back and go, why?
You're right. Everything I do, I ask the same question, why? Actually, my accountant asked that question. And why are we spending this money now?
Why?
And there better be a good answer, you know. There's got to be a rate of return, which is why it's important to take benchmarks and keep track of metrics. You know, like I just redid my website, and I'm tracking activity, and it's through the roof. You know, it's wildly beyond my expectations. So I'm thinking that was good money I spent, but I had to measure it. Otherwise, I'd be sitting here wondering, I wonder if that really worked or not. You know.
Yeah.
I mean, particularly with sales, you got to do that, I think.
I think operating in a void or operating in a vacuum makes people nervous.
Exactly. Yeah.
You think about, look, the leader of the company, they're not getting the numbers that they need. They're operating in a void. Where are we from a day to day, from a week to week, from a month to month? Show me the numbers, but don't worry about it. You're okay. We're fine. It's all good. You're operating in a vacuum. What do you mean we're good? We're fine. No, show me the numbers, right? Sales will be great. We're okay. Got lots of leads coming in. We're going to close some deals. Don't worry about it, boss.
Yeah.
No. Show me
I think a lot of it.
Show me the numbers.
A lot of it goes back to your leadership of not only in the C-suite, but in your divisions, in your departments. You have to have leaders that lead up and lead down too, and then make everyone, including themselves, accountable. And laser focused. If you have that, I think you're pretty good.
I think the accountability is the key thing.
Accountability is the key. That's why every time I spend money, I always keep track of it. I keep, it's accountable. I know you and I are both workout guys. So when I go to the gym, I'm always keeping track. I keep track every day how much I weigh. I keep track of how many pull-ups I do, how many push-ups. I chart it out, and then over 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, I can see my progress. I've got my individual daily weight going back 15, 20 years. I keep track of it every day. It's just an accountability thing. If you don't keep track of it, it's not accountable, right?
But but it's strange when you look at the noise out there. It's the Great Resignation now. Everybody talks about the Great Resignation. You need to be nice to me. People don't leave jobs. People leave bad bosses. I think that to me is bad. I don't think that's right at all. I think people leave jobs, but you need to be nice to me. You can't talk to me that way. But here's the funny thing: is the people that are most accountable to themselves are not the ones that are having that conversation.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
They're the ones that are driving. They're the grinders in the organization that are delivering down and they're delivering up, and they're communicating.
I love grinders, man. When I recruit people, I look for that grinder. And you know how you can tell who a grinder is? All you have to do is look at their resume. Competitive sports, high school wrestler, wrestling champion in college. Are you kidding me? You got to be a grinder, man.
I call it, I talk to them and I find the person that quote unquote needs the A.
Yeah, exactly.
You need the A. And they're like, what are you talking about? So I talked at a conference about this a couple months ago. And my daughter is in college and she can't stand group projects because she can't stand making a B. So what ultimately happens is they put her in these group projects with 6 people, 4 of whom are dopes, her, 1 other, and 4 dopes. Oh man, I'm at the bar. I'll get to it. Oh, I've got a tennis tournament this weekend. I'm going to tap it on the side of the tennis tournament. In the meantime, you got 2 people who are grinding it out because they got to know where they are any given day.
Yeah.
And they need the A. Those are the people who you hire.
Yeah.
And you ask them, tell me about your life. I played competitive sports. I hate to lose. I'm a single mother of 2 kids and I want to put them to college. I want to make sure they have a great life. Pick somebody and what they're working for is a goal. and they need that A. And those are the people who drive the organizations. And those are the people who are uber focused on their own job, and they're uber focused on the organization, and uber focused on success.
Yeah. And employers should be able to recognize who these people are, because if they don't reward them in this day and age, they're going to walk out the door.
Yep.
Because people are much more aware now of being able to move around. And that's what COVID has done. It's provided a lot of mobility in the job force now. And these types of need to A people are more self-aware of what's going on and the opportunities out there. So I tell my clients all the time, forget about, taking care of everyone on your workforce. You got to identify those need to A people, and you got to make sure they understand the purpose of the organization. You got to respect them. You have to appreciate them, give them the unexpected bonus, because those are the people that are going to drive your organization.
Yeah. And it's funny because here's the conversation I have with clients. Base salary, 200 grand. And then they say, well, I want a 50% bonus. Okay. So that's another 100 on top. Companies always look at the top number. They go, ooh, that's $300,000. That's a lot of money. They go, time out. You're in it for 2. Everything else is dependent, is a variable.
Yeah. Incentive based, man.
And the way I look at it, I go, hey, look, if the person does what you need them to do and they do it well, you're not going to care about paying out that bonus. You're going to be so happy to pay that bonus. You're going to give them a little bit more. If they don't do what you need them to do to earn that bonus, it's a very short conversation. I mean, that's the whole way the world should be looked at. If you do what you're expected to do in life and you beat the expectations, the bonuses and the rewards come. If you continually fail, it's a very short conversation. That's just business, right?
I had a candidate about a year ago. I mean, this woman was unbelievable. I mean, I don't think I'd ever seen a candidate this good. I mean, polished, mature, mental acuity, team player, no ego, just amazing, amazing. Certifications, I mean, working all the time. I got her this position with one of my top clients. And I told her, I said, and she was very willing to be coached. So I said, go into the interview and at the right time, kind of lean forward in your chair, elbows on the table, look that hiring authority in the eyeballs. And I want you to ask them, what can I do in the first 6 months that'll make you look really, really good? What's the one thing I can do? And she said, this guy had this like amazed look in his face, like he never heard this before. He had to gather himself. And he said, I got this one customer, this big customer. We're getting ready to lose this customer. We've just had a litany of errors. It's just a freaking nightmare.
Right.
Underwriting problems, claims issues. Man, he says, if you could rescue that client, I mean, I'd be a happy guy. And she said, I'll tell you what, I'm not making any guarantees. I'm not writing any checks I can't cash. But if I could pull that off, is that worth a bonus? And then once again, the guy looked at her with a puzzled look.
Yep.
And he said, heck yeah, that would be worth a bonus. And she said, I'm telling you, this woman's amazing. She said, how much? 20, 25%. She's negotiating her compensation now. And the guy says, I would pay you a 20% incentive bonus on top of the other bonuses.
There you go.
Pull that off. She called me up after the interview and she said, Rob, make sure this thing is in the employment agreement. And it wasn't. When I got the offer letter, it wasn't in there. And I had to refresh this one particular hiring manager, who was the CEO of the company, of the conversation, and it came back, and there it was. And would you believe that she actually did rescue the client?
Love it.
$45,000 bonus.
And you got to pay the bonus. And it's, what I love is companies that.
Can you imagine? I mean, think about that.
It's great.
What's the one thing I could do that will make you look good in 6 months?
But it's not that she just talked about it. She did it.
Yeah.
She did it. Said, okay, let's go. I'm not writing a check. I can't cash. The expectation is set. But if I do it,
Right. If I do.
and she did it, and there you go. It's, a quid pro quo, and that's business. I remember a great story is, so a private equity guy comes in at Gulfstream Aircraft. This goes back 25 years. And it was a turnaround situation, a great management team, but the private equity it was Ted Forsman. He was a wild card. Ted was a wild card. And he comes in and he says, all the sales guys are fired. I'm not happy with where you're at. I'm not happy with what you're doing. Sales guys are fired. And the CEO took him outside and said, we can't do, look, if you want to just trash this, what? I'm supposed to be able to hire? It was a purely emotional deal. He comes in, look, I'm pissed. You're all fired. And he says, look, I can't rebuild a sales team, whatever. So he walks back in and says, okay, y'all have your jobs. Here's the gig. Everybody that takes a competing aircraft out of a hangar and replaces it with a Gulfstream gets a $500,000 bonus. Anybody that doesn't do that by the year end gets fired. It's true story. And you could tell the guys who are going to do it, because they were the ones that were like, get me out of this meeting. I'm going to go call my clients now. I got to go make that phone call. And then you saw the guys that weren't going to do it and the girls that weren't going to do it because they were sitting back in the room going, oh shit, how do I keep my job? It's really fun. I mean, look, it's
a tale of two cities, man.
And did anybody lose their job? No. Was it a lot of puffing? Yeah. But it was kind of setting the expectation of, if you do this, this is critical. We need to go sell airplanes. Yeah. This is critical. Let's go do it. I was just a fly on the wall in the room. I didn't have a territory. I was just a fly on the wall in the room. I was like, whoa, this is like crazy. But yeah, it was great lesson in sort of how to drive some business, carrot and stick, whatever.
I showed the movie Glengarry Glen Ross to my recruiting team. And I love the part where Alec Baldwin says, first place is a Cadillac, second place are these steak knives, third place you're fired. And there's a lot of, I had forgotten that there's a lot of vulgarity in that movie, a lot of F-bombs and stuff, but it's unbelievable. I didn't show him the whole movie. I just showed him like that 12-minute vignette that Alec Baldwin did when he talks to the sales guys, and it was great. Everybody loved it, except I got a phone call the next day from the husband of one of the ladies that was in the room. And he goes, I can't believe you showed this film clip to my wife. Are you crazy? This thing is one of the most vulgar things I've ever listened to. But if anybody has never seen that 12-minute vignette clip of Alec Baldwin and Glengarry Glen Ross, it's exactly like you just said. You replace the airplane, and those of you that don't, you're fired. It's right out of that movie.
I don't think in today's day and age, I don't think in today's day and age that style works anymore. Like I was old. The Glengarry Glen Ross, or you go do this or you're fired. That's not reality. But at the end of the day, I love your girl who goes, I'm not going to write checks I can't cash, but if I do this, will you? Of
course, man. I tell my
you got a goal. You got to go do it. It's positive motivation, it's positive leadership. And then your sales executive communicates where she is at every step in the process to turn the client. That's a team. That's teamwork.
Yeah.
And I think, maybe a little bit of my frustration today, maybe I'm just feeling a little frustration is that I don't think leaders of teams, captains of teams are setting an expectation, strong enough expectation, but I don't think the team members are showing a lot of personal accountability to their job. They're completely unfocused. They're all over the place. They're focusing on the other stuff. And I'm just feeling it today that maybe the great resignation will become a great refocusing.
You know what?
Things.
The great realization is really driving the great resignation. And what follows the great resignation is the great refocusing.
Yeah.
So you have the 3 Gs, man.
There you go.
The 3 Gs, man. If you don't understand the 3 Gs, you're not happening.
There you
gotta
go.
Understand the 3 Gs.
The 3 Gs. Tell us what the 3 Gs are, Rob.
The great realization drives the great resignation, which drives the great refocusing.
The great refocusing.
There you go.
So
I think that's a topic for our next podcast, man. The
I
3
think that's
Gs.
it.
I love it, man.
I
In fact,
think
I'm gonna
that's
do
it.
a blog on that right now. And when we get off this, I'm doing a blog.
Let's do
Actually,
it.
I'm going to do a podcast with you after this on the great realization.
We're going to do it.
people, tune into my podcast, man. It's coming up next.
There you go. So how do people get a hold of you, Rob?
I'm high up in the mountains here, so people will probably will not be able to actually visit with me, but they can reach me on email, rob@mrfairfax.com, or they can go to my website, www.mrfairfax.com.
Awesome. Thanks for coming on, man. It was a great conversation today. I hope you enjoyed the latest edition of the Aerospace Executive Podcast. You can reach out to me directly, Craig at northstaresg.com, or check us out at www.northstaresg.com. You can subscribe to this podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, Podbean, or on YouTube. Just do a search for Aerospace Executive Podcast. Thanks again. I'm Craig Piven.